You pass your real estate exam, you study for weeks, you memorize the vocabulary, you learn the law, you got your license, and then a buyer signs the contract and hands it back to you, and you have absolutely no idea what to do. Nobody told you, your exam didn't cover it, your broker handed you a desk and a MLS password and said, good luck. Now you're sitting there with a legal binding contract in your hand and the client is counting on you and you're frozen. This is the moment this video is made for. You are a brand new agent and you've been licensed for years and you've been trying to figure this out as you go. This is the most important video you're going to watch in your first entire year, because what I'm about to talk or walk you through is a complete real estate transaction from the moment the contract is signed and all the way to the moment your client is standing at the front door with the keys in their hand. Every step, every play, every deadline, everything that can go wrong and how to handle it. This is not a surface overview. This is not a checklist. This is not a masterclass. And by the time this video is done, you will understand the process at a level that most agents, including agent who has been in the business for 5 years, don't understand, because most agents only know their piece. I'm going to give you the whole picture. So if you're serious about building a real estate career, stay with me. This is where, now, the big picture is about 3 tracks running at once. Before we go step by step, I need to give you the mental model that's going to make everything else make sense because the biggest mistake new agent makes when trying to understand a real estate transaction is thinking about it as one straight line, and it's not. There are 3 separate tracks running simultaneously, and all 3 of them have to finish at roughly at the same time before the deal could close. Track 1 is a real estate agent track. That's you. You're coordinating the physical side of the transaction, inspection, repair, walkthrough, deadlines, and communication. Track 3 is going to be the mortgage company track. That's the lender. They're going to qualify the buyer all over again with the specific property now in the picture. Appraisal, underwriting, loan approval, closing instructions. Track 3 is the title agent track. That's the title company. They're researching the legal history of the property, making sure that the seller has the right to sell it, clear any issues, and preparing the legal document that makes ownership transferable again. These 3 tracks are not equal. They are not waiting for each other to finish before they start. The moment the contract is executed, meaning signing by all contract, all these tracks launches at the same time. As your job as an agent is not just to run the track, your job is to understand all 3 well enough to know when something is off schedule, when a problem brewing, and when you need to make a phone call. Think of yourself as a project manager for the entire transaction. The management company and the title company are specialists doing their job, but you are the one that has the relationship with the client. You are the one the client's going to call when they are scared, when they're confused, when something doesn't make sense. If you don't understand what the lender is doing or what the title company is going through, you cannot be the person for your client. And if you cannot be the person, you will not get referrals. You will not build a business. You will survive deal to deal, wondering why nothing is growing. So let's go through the entire track in full. We'll start with yours. Before we get started, guys, again, this is an overview. Every state has different laws. Like New York, we will do the inspections first and then sign the contract. Or North and South Carolina, we will sign the contract, then do the inspection and repairs. Again, just a little bit, bear with me. You have to know a little bit about if you're an attorney state and if you're not. So let's get started. What we call the agent track. The contract is executed. All parties have signed. The clock is now running. Here's exactly number 1, step 1, order the inspection. Do not wait. Do not assume everything will be handled. The moment the contract is executed, you are picking up the phone, booking the home inspector, the pest inspector, and most transactions, your buyer has a window, typically 7 to 10 days, sometime less, to complete inspections, decide whether to move forward, negotiate repairs, or walk away. The clock starts the moment the contract is signed, not the moment you get around to it. First, find a good home inspector before you ever have a deal. have their numbers saved, know their availability, know their prices, know how quickly they can turn around a report. Because when the contract comes in on Friday afternoon, you need to be on the phone Friday afternoon, not the morning or Monday morning. Now, if the property is a condo or part of a homeowner association, you will also need to apply for condo certification or a HO certificate at the same time. This is a document that discloses the financial health of the association, any pending assessments, the rules and restrictions, reserve fund balances, information your buyer needs to know before they fully commit. In some market and some associations, getting this document can take about 2 to 3 weeks. So do not wait, get it ordered immediately. Step 2, the inspection comes back, and now what? Let's start with the inspection first, and almost always find something. The report comes back with a 20, 30, 40 pages long, and your buyer is panicking. Your job is to be the calming voice, the reason. Walk through it. Help them understand the difference between cosmetic issues and structural concerns, between things that are normal in a home of that age and things that are generally problematic. Most contract gives the buyer the right to request repairs, a price reduction, or a credit at the closing based on the inspection finding. Your job is to help your buyer decide what to ask for and then negotiate it with the other side. This is where being a skilled negotiator matters significantly. You are not just a paper pusher, you are an advocate. Let me give you a real scenario. Your buyer inspector finds the roof has 5 years left, the cracking in the foundation that needs monitoring, and a few electric outlets aren't grounded. The seller has owned the home for 15 years and believe it's in good shape. How do you handle this? You don't ask for everything. You ask for what matters. You prioritize. You come in with a reasonable, well-documented repair request or credit ask, and you explain to your buyer why going with a laundry list of every minor item is going to poison negotiate. Pick your battles. Get your clients what they actually need. Once both parties agree to the repair or credit, the agreement needs to be in document and writing. Again, text messages, emails, everything needs to be documented. An addendum to the contract signed by both sides. Do not let a verbal agreement sit without a paper behind it. Verbal agreement in real estate are worth nothing at the closing. Step 3, make an arrangement for the repairs of the contract. If the seller agrees to make critical repair, not just give a credit, you need to follow up to confirm those repairs are being made. You need to ask for receipts, invoices from licensed contractor. Like I said, a licensed contractor, an electrician, a friend of yours is not licensed, you will have issues. And you need to plan to verify the work done through the final walkthrough or before. Don't assume, confirm. Step 4, book the final readings. Depending on your market and the property type, you need to schedule final utility reading, water meter reading, oil tank readings, whatever stands in your area. This is about making sure everything is properly accounted for at the closing so that the seller is only being credited or charged for what they actually used. It sounds admin work and boring, and absolutely it is. Do it anyways. 5th, send the holding deposit to the title company if it's applicable. In many transactions, there is an earnest money deposit or a holding deposit that needs to be delivered to the title company or escrow holder within a particular time frame after contracts executed. Know your contract, know the deadline, know where the money needs to go and how it needs to be delivered. Missing this deadline is an actual contract violation. Do not miss it. Number 6, arrange the final walkthrough. This is typically scheduled 24 hours to 48 hours before the closing. This is your buyer last chance to walk through the property and confirm that it is in the same condition they agreed to purchase it. They are checking that agreed upon repairs are made. They are checking that nothing has been damaged since they last saw it. They're checking that the seller belongings are out and the property is ready for transfer. Walk through with your buyer. Take photos. If something is wrong, repair weren't made, something is damaged, items are removed that were supposed to stay, you need to know about it before you get to the closing table, not after. Address it immediately. Get on the phone with the other agent, get it solved before the closing, or make sure it's reflected in the closing credit. Your tracking as an agent is really about coordination, communication, and advisory. You are the hub. Everything flows through you. If you are proactive, organized, and in consistent communication with your client and other parties, your track runs smooth. If you are passive, reactive, things fall apart. It's always your fault in the client's eyes when it isn't. Okay, awesome. So now let's move on to mortgage track. When you're running your track, the mortgage company has launched their own process simultaneously. You need to understand this deep, not to do their job, but to know when things are on tracks and when they're not. The loan application process begins at contract execution. Even if your buyer was pre-approved before they started house hunting, the mortgage company now has a particular property to underwrite. The loan application firmly kicks off and the lender begins verifying everything over again. Income, stability, employment, credit, debit, and now the value and conditions of the particular property being purchased. The appraisal is ordered. This is one of the most important steps in the mortgage track and one of the biggest potential deal killers. The lender will order an independent appraisal of the property. Our appraiser will visit the house, evaluate the condition, compare it to the recent sales of similar properties in the area, and issue an opinion of the value. The lender will not lend more than the appraised value. Here's where it gets real. Let's say that your buyer agrees to purchase a home for $450,000. The appraiser comes in at $430,000. Now you have a $20,000 gap. The lender will only lend based on $430,000. Your buyer either needs to make up the $20,000 difference in cash. You need to renegotiate the purchase price with the seller. If the contract has an appraisal contingency, your buyer may be able to walk away from this deal. As an agent, you need to understand this scenario before it happens so you can guide your buyer, handling the negotiation calmly if it comes up. An appraisal gap is not the end of the deal. It is a negotiation, and your value as an agent is never more visible than in that moment. At the same time, the appraisal is being ordered. The lender is in deep with the buyer's financial. They are verifying unemployment, sometimes calling the employer directly. They are verifying the funding to close or in the buyer's account and have there long enough to not raise any red flags. They're reviewing every deposit, every transfer, every line in the bank statement. This is called the buyer trail, and buyer often don't realize how detailed this gets. Here are something that you need to be telling every buyer before they go under contract. Do not make any large purchases. Do not open any new credit account. Do not move large amount of money around without telling your lender first. A buyer who goes out and finances a new car 2 weeks before the closing can blow up an entire transaction, and it has happened many times with me and my team. Their debt to income ratio changes, their credit score takes a hit, and you're sitting there 3 weeks before the closing wondering why the lender suddenly asked for a complete new approval. Tell your buyer this before contract. Tell them again and then put it in a text because they will forget. What we do is actually give them a piece of paper at the buyer consultation. The lender instructs the buyer to obtain insurance. The mortgage company will require proof of homeowner's insurance before they issue a clear to close. In some areas, flood insurance is also required. Your buyer needs to shop for and bind their insurance while before closing. Not at the day before, not the morning of. You should be reminding your buyer about that proactively. Don't assume the lender handles it. Check. Information goes to underwriter. Once all the information is gathered, remember they have to gather all this information. If your buyer is not giving this information, they cannot move forward. Communicate with the lender. Once all the information is gathered, the appraisal, the financials, the insurance, the employment verification, it all gets packaged together, submitted to the underwriter. Underwriting is where the loan either gets approved with conditions or denied, which usually doesn't happen, but it can. Conditions are normal. Underwriter will often come back and say, we need a letter of explanations for the deposit. We need an updated pay stub. We need a proof that the discount has been open for 60 days. There are These are not necessarily problematic. They are requests for additional documentation, but they take time, and every condition that comes back and adds day to the timeline. This is why you need to be in communication with your buyer loan officer at least once a week. We do it every Tuesdays and Thursdays, ideally twice throughout the transaction. You ask, where does the file stand? Are there any conditions outstanding? What's the estimate clear to close? Date, is there anything needed for the buyer right now? If the answer to the last question is yes, you immediately contact the buyer and make sure that they get everything that they needed back to the lender that day, not tomorrow, today. The lender sends a closing instruction and final numbers to the title company. When underwritings are clear and the buyer receive a clear to close, the mortgage company send the closing instruction and the final loan closing costs directly to the title company agent. This is the trigger. This is what allows the closing to be formally scheduled. Before this happens, you don't have a confirmed closing date, and after this, you do. All right, let's get started on the title tracking. Okay, here's what you need to negotiate. Here's a quick scenario that you need to understand, that here is the title gap. Whoever is editing this, please put this in the title gap section. Review this one more time. This is the appraisal gap section, and I think I did it about 5 minutes ago. So please put this diagram. I missed it. Pause. Put this into the appraisal gap section. All right, now let's get moving forward with the title track. The essential step. The third track runs simultaneously in the title track, and this is the one that's most invisible to a new agent, and also the one that produces the most surprise when you don't understand. The title agent receives the contract. The moment the title agent gets to execute a contract and any special instruction, they open a file and the title works begin. This is not passive. There is a team working on this file from day one. An abstract begins a title search. A title search is a deep investigation into the history of the property. The abstract is going back through the public records, sometime decades back, to answer 3 questions. Who are the owners of record? Is the chain of title clean? Meaning, did ownership transfer property at every point in history? Are there any liens, judgments, encroachments, records against the property? Think about a lien meaning. Think about what a lien means. It means someone has legally claimed against the property. That could be an unpaid mortgage from a previous owner. It could be a judgment from the lawsuit. And any of these, if they're recorded against the property, any of these things, and if they're recorded against the property, attached to the property, not just the person, that means there's nothing resolving before closing. That means if there's not resolved before the closing, your buyer is taking ownership of that problem. This is exactly why title insurance exists. This is why the title search matters. Don't let your buyer tell you that you don't need title insurance. I had that questions many times, and why is it so expensive? Because you're protected. As an examiner reviewing the title, once the abstract completes the search, a title examiner reviews everything. They are looking over anything that could be a problem. If their chain of title is clean and there is no lien, the progress moves forward. If something comes up, and sometimes they do, the title begins working to solve it. A commitment to issuing title is forwarded to all parties. If examination comes back clean, the title company issues what's called a title commitment, sometimes called a binder. This is the title company's promise that they will issue a title insurance policy at the closing, and is showing everything continues to check out. The commitment gets forwarded to all parties, including the lender. Your buyer should receive and review this document. Most buyers don't read it carefully, but you should know what it means. The title commitment will list and any exceptions, things that the title insurance policy will not cover, and any requirement that needs to be met before closing. Read it, know it, and also let your clients know. The process handling closing issues. In the final stretch before the closing, the title company process is handling the detail that needs to be solved and making closing possible. They are ordering payoffs, which means they are contacting the seller's mortgage companies, finding out the exact amount needed to be paid off for the seller's loans of the closing date. They're coordinating any surveys that are required. They're cleaning any last minute adjustments, property taxes, probates, HOA dues, utilities, and credits. All this has to be calculated and agreed upon and reflected in the closing document before closing can happen. Legal and final documents are received, closing is scheduled. Once the title company have received the following instructions from the lender, completing the payoff request, cleaning out all title issues, preparing the closing package, all parties are advised of a closing time and location. This is the moment everyone has been working towards. The closing and the funding occurs. At the closing table, your buyer is signing a significant stack of documents: the promissory notes, the mortgage, the deed of trust, the pages of disclosure. The seller signed the deed transfer ownership. Funding are reimbursed. The seller mortgage gets paid off. Closing costs are paid, and the seller received their proceeding. After the closing, legal documents are recorded with the county. The deed is now public record, showing your buyer as the new owner, and the title insurance policies are issued, one for the lender and one for the buyer. And then your clients gets the key. And this is the moment that you've been waiting for, because you made it to the finish table. It's not over yet. Let's do a timeline breakdown. Okay, the common myths and what that looks like. Now let's talk about sequences because new agents are consistently confused about what happens and when. Here is a rough timeline framework for a standard 30 days transaction. In your market, it may be short or long. Here is a rough timeline framework from a standard 30 days transaction. Though in your market, it may be short or long. Day 1 through 5. This is where you launch window. Inspections are being scheduled and completed. Title company has opened the file and abstract is underway. The lender have launched the appraisal order and is collecting documents from the buyer. You're ordering and certification required for condos or HOA. Everything has been moving fast in this window. Day 5 through day 15, this is the middle phase. Inspections, negotiations are happening or has been resolved. The appraisal should be coming back. Underwriter is reviewing the file. Title searches is being examined. Title searches are being examined. If there are going to be problems, appraisal gap, title issues, and underwriting conditions, they usually surface here. Stay in close communication with everyone. Day 15 to day 25, this is the refinement phase. Underwriting conditions are being cleared. The title company is handling payoffs, pre-closing details. Your buyer is finalizing their insurance. You are following up on any agreement and repairs. This is also when you start confirming logistics. Where is the closing going to happen? What time? What does your buyer need to bring? How much money needs to be wired and to where? Day 25 to 30, the final stretch. The lender issues a clear to close. Closing instructions go to the title. The closing disclosures are to the buyer. By law, the buyer must review this at least 3 days before the closing. Or if they don't get this, it's pushed back for another 3 days. You are scheduling the final walkthrough. You're confirming everything is in order, and then you close. Now, let's talk about what blows deals up. Because as a new agent, you need to know that the appraisal comes in low. We talked about this. Have a plan before it happens. Know your contract appraisal contingency language. Know whether your buyer has a cash to cover it as a gap if needed. The buyer financing falls apart. This happens when a buyer makes a major financial changes during the transaction. New debt, new job change, new large unexplained deposit. Stay on top of your buyer. Remind them consistently. No major financial moves until and after the closing. Title issues surface that can be quickly resolved. An old lien, estate issues, boundary dispute, sometimes even surveys. These take time. Sometimes they can be resolved in days. Sometimes it will take weeks. The title company is handling it, but your job is to keep your client calm and informed. Inspection negotiations falls apart. Sometimes buyers and sellers can't agree on the repairs or credit, and one party wants to walk away. Your job is to keep the deal together, and if it makes sense to do so, and to be honest with your client if it doesn't. The final walkthrough reveals a problem. Repairs weren't done, something was damaged, the appliances that were supposed to stay was removed. It has happened to me many times. This can delay closing. Address it before you get to the table. The closing disclosure has an error. The final numbers need to be reviewed carefully before closing date. You need to do that at least 1 day to 2 days before you do the closing. If there is an error, it needs to be corrected. And depending on the type of error, you need to wait another 3 to 5 days before you can close. This is why reviewing the moment it arrives is so important, and especially with the new laws with the buyer and seller doesn't have to give you the commission. Please review that and how you're getting paid, either seller's concessions or the seller's agreeing to pay you directly. Okay, each one of these deals is a manageable when you understand what's happening and why. The agent who loses deals are the one who are surprised. The agent who keeps the deal together are the one who saw it coming and had a plan. So if you made it to this point, your understanding the real estate transaction at a level is going to separate you from the majority of the agents in your market. Most agents can describe these pieces. You can describe all three of the pieces. This is a competitive edge, and most importantly, it is genuinely service to your client. A client who feels that their agent truly understands what's happening at every stage of the process is a client who trusts you, who could refer you. A referral are how careers get built in this business. So here's what I want to do for you. Drop a comment below and tell me what part of this process has felt the most confusing or overwhelming for you. Whether it's understanding the mortgage side, navigating the inspections, or knowing how to communicate with the title company. Tell me where you're stuck. I will read every comment and I will answer you. If you're not subscribed yet, hit the button below. Every video I put out is designed to give you a real usable knowledge, no fluff. And if you are ever at a point where you're thinking about what it looks like to be on a team that actually invests in your growth, trains you properly, and builds alongside, reach out. The information is in the description below. I love to have conversation. Now you understand the full transaction. You know what happens, who does what and when. But here's the next thing that you need to know. In order to navigate this process confidently, you need to deeply understand the rules of every person at the table, because knowing this step is only half of it. Knowing who in each step, knowing who owns each step, is how to communicate with them effectively, is what makes you a professional. Who are the key 3 players in the real estate deals. Here's exactly what episode 1 covers. Who are the 3 key players in every real estate deals? The agent, the mortgage company, and the title agent. We go deep on each one, what their actual job is, how they think, how to build the kind of work relationship that makes your transactions run smooth than everyone else. Click right now and it's the perfect step. Your real estate experts, send us an email at join@YREEX and your information is below. Let's get into the next phase where we go deep dive, like I said, in the key players. Thank you.